My lord, the young beastling scrivener began, his voice trembling as he stumbled over himself, the bundle of documents and pens slipping from his grasp. Quickly turning around, the man he was trailing bent down to help him pick up everything that had dropped. "Are you okay?" the man asked, concerned. Yes, my lord. Perfectly fine," the scrivener replied hastily, but failing to conceal the pain of the small injury to his knee he had gained. It was nothing new to him, however. He had always been clumsy, even as a small child. The law's concern, however, was evident, offering a sense of reassurance. "Doesn't look like it." The man paused in thought as he held out a bundle of documents. "Why don't we hold the interview here, then? It will save you a walk on that knee," the man said, gesturing to one of the rest branches that lined the hallway. "But we would require privacy," the scrivener protested. "Come now, this is for my biography, isn't it? Why hide what will inevitably be read by many?" The scrivener reluctantly nodded as he limped to the bench and sat down. Putting the documents he had gathered on the seat next to him, he watched as his interviewee almost glided down onto the seat. "So, where shall we begin?" the man asked, a smirk spreading across his face as his vibrant green eyes almost shone with the magic they contained. "Your early childhood," the scrivener replied. "There are many records of your life from your teenage years, many starting from your trial that led to your appointment in the academy, but accounts of your actions prior to your arrest are scant at best." The man nodded. Understandable, considering I was no one really worth recording on paper. "Perish the thought, my lord. You are one of the few Sloth ever took as an apprentice. You are the very first true-born human at this academy," the scrivener protested. "Indeed I am, but who I was before was not all too important. A nobody adventurer, more a mercenary specializing in bandit hunting than anything." The scrivener quickly began scribbling down notes. "Yes, I uncovered some payment receipts for services rendered. Did you do these tasks as a child?" "In a way, I suppose yes. I was very young when me and my sister began, somewhere around the age of 8 or 9. "So young!" the scrivener exclaimed in surprise. He had heard of children working for the Adventurers Guild, but as simple chore runners, not as actual combat agents. "I imagine you had a large family that needed support, and this was your way of contributing to the family finances?" "Alas, no. The impetus for my sister and me to become adventurers was simply tragedy." "Ah, I see. Would you be willing to elaborate?" "I don't see why not. You see, I was a rather skilled mage even in my youth. Self-taught, you know," the man began conversationally. The scrivener nodded. It was a well-known, though widely disputed fact, that the man had taught himself the basics of magic. Word of my skill with magic had begun to spread, travelling all the way to the royal capital. At the time, the ruler of the Secondian kingdom had a tithe he had yet to pay to the theocracy. The scrivener nodded, though a tinge of sadness entered his eyes as he looked at the man. The theocracy's tithe was meant to supply men and material for the holy forces. A prodigy child like the man beside him would have met a decade's tithes alone. So the king sent men, accompanied by the Inquisition, to my little no-name village to pick me up. "I imagine you resisted and had to flee then?" the scrivener asked, considering the man was currently well embedded in the forces opposing the theocracy. "You'd think that, but no. You see, 5 words.
5 words?
The scrivener echoed back, confused. 5 words separated me from the life I would have led. 5 words my sisters said to me, a mere few days before they arrived. The scrivener paused as he tried to imagine what such words could be.
"Come, let us run away, perhaps?"
No. We were unaware of the force barreling down on our home. What my big sister said to me was, "Want to go hunt some meat?" The man began to wring his hands as he said this. I said yes, and so me and Mimi snuck off to the local lord's woods to get some meat. The scrivener paused his note-taking as realization dawned on him.
"You weren't in the village when they arrived, were you?"
Exactly. But the one answer an Inquisitor will never accept is, I don't know, because as their masters always say, only liars say that.
What happened after?
We could only piece together a vague idea of what happened. What we found was burnt-out remains nailed to posts. The man's calm demeanor, as he recounted the tragedy, was a testament to his inner strength.
Gods above,
the scrivener let out in a hushed whisper, his shock palpable. Regardless of this tragedy, we could tell who was responsible, so naturally we fled the opposite way from the one which they came from. But from this tragedy came greater strength.
Greater strength?
The scrivener repeated, confused. Any tragedy as horrible as the one this man had suffered as a child, who hadn't even seen 10 summers, would be broken. Yes, it's a fascinating thing that I found oddly unique to us humans. Tragedy can forge us in flames. The scrivener hastily wrote this line down, as it would no doubt be a quote shared often. The man, however, paid no heed to the hasty note-writing as he continued. Some, sadly, will be consumed by the flames. The tragedy will cause them to crumble to naught but ash. Others will come out unscathed, the tragedy nothing but a bad memory. The scrivener nodded. This was the only other reaction to tragic events he had seen. But some... The man paused as he collected his thoughts. Some become far stronger than they would have been otherwise. They are like steel in the forge, ready to quench after the flames of tragedy. That those of us that endure become unbreakable.
Such resolve it must have taken,
the scrivener muttered in awe. Resolve? Yes, I suppose. You see, while I can't speak for all humans, we are, after all, a varied and weird lot at the best of times. I can say that many will do all they can not to let a tragedy repeat, even if it means enduring more suffering than anyone can imagine. It is the one trait that humans stand above other races with. Our tragedies will forge us to ensure they never will be repeated. Emphasizing his point, a dense ball of mana accumulated around the man's clenched fist. The ball was such that the scrivener felt his pulse quicken, in a natural reaction his race had to only the most dangerous of predators.
I see, my lord,
the scrivener stammered, as the school bell rang, indicating the next class would begin. Oh, crap. Sorry, can we continue some other time? I have a class of lunatic little kids to look after. If I'm not there, they are liable to blow a hole in another classroom, the man hastily said, before running off towards the kindergarten isolation schoolhouse. Regardless, the scrivener had an interesting point to start this biography from.